welcome to the Survivor Purple Rock Podcast Summer Rewatch of Survivor Philippines. This is Blackjack and Hookers and the Goblet of Fire. I'm your host, Emma, here with my co-host, Matt. How you doing, Matt?
I'm great. I just got back from vacation. I'm relaxed.
Oh, how nice of you. I wish I was about to go on vacation.
Oh, wait, you are.
That's right, and that's why we're here on a Monday instead of a Thursday, so we appreciate your patience with our little off-kilter scheduling. We will be back next Thursday for our final episode, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's talk about this batch.
Yes, and let's start off, let's just skip ahead right to that reward challenge, or really just the reward. I don't really care about the fact the challenge was young versus old. So that was a little weird. But
yeah, it does make you wonder a little who picked who there, but not too much.
I mean, were they actually picking there or was it random?
No, I don't know. I didn't make really note of that, so let's move on.
Yeah, I don't really care either. Hey, the reward challenge.
Yeah, so Malcolm smartly is like, let's not talk about strategy, people I'm not aligned with, And Pete just, as always,
stared right into Malcolm's eyes
and was like, "You're right. Let's not talk about strategy. Great idea. I'm 24 too. Did you know that? We're both 24.
It's like there's a connection there.
Yeah, it's really deep and it's sweet. It's nice.
Yeah. I mean, but and not only that, but it's a nice spa day. Carter was really excited to get a pedicure on his hands. Until, Probst had to indicate that it was actually the feet that you get the pedicure on. That's okay, Carter.
Yeah. He's just showing how manly he is by not knowing things like pedicures and manicures.
Right. And by feeding Malcolm grapes.
Yeah,
total man there. Just all man.
Oh, you think a man can't feed another man grapes?
I mean, a man can feed another man grapes. Honestly, I don't believe in limitations for men. I kind of see that as negative thinking.
Okay, that's not what it sounded like you were saying, but we'll just move on. Really to basically when they get back from the reward challenge, right?
Because that's when the fireworks start. And by the fireworks, I mean, Abby just cannot stop talking.
No, she can't. Doesn't, and people have done it before. Ozzy made a similar error back in Fan versus Favorites. But yeah, girl cannot read the room.
No, they do not want to hear how nice a time that reward was. Or if they do, they kind of want to hear it once, and that's it.
And maybe less I was such a princess. I felt like a queen, just oh yeah, the massages were great and the food was good. It was really nice. It's nice to have clean hair.
Right. And, but she's describing it in detail. And, look, let's talk about the elephant in the room, or should we say the Mandela effect in the room.
It's soul crashing.
It is, because the thing is, this is the reward where we always thought that Carter came back and said, there was this sauce.
And then is immediately interrupted by Abby. But no. He doesn't say that.
No. What happens is Denise tries to steer the conversation away from Abby to Carter because if there's one thing Denise knows, it's that Carter won't go on forever.
Yeah. And Carter, he doesn't even talk about sauces. He says salsas.
Well, okay. I heard sauces.
I heard sauces.
But I okay. Yeah, that's a little unclear. But what he actually says is, what was your favorite part, Carter? The salsas. There was this spicy one. Boom, Abby's in. Yeah. I mean, it's not the same.
It's really not. And, it's Berenstain Bears, not Berenstein Bears. There is no movie Shazam. I just don't know what's real anymore.
I think what happened was sometime in the last 5 years, we just wandered into that parallel universe, and we didn't realize it.
Well, here's the thing. I actually did a little digging, and I found out what happened, and I know whose fault it is, and it's a specific person, and it is one of our commenters, because I saw it on no fewer than 3 occasions, and not just in this episode review, but really the whole chunk that we're reviewing now, which is really convenient. On no less than 3 occasions, our very own Hornacek talks about, and to be fair, probably was like paraphrasing or whatever, but multiple times quotes Carter as saying, there was this sauce, ... and then getting interrupted. So naturally, as commenters are wont to do, we sort of pick this up as an inside joke. And as the time goes by, the quote becomes more and more real until we foolishly decided to have this rewatch and ruin our hopes and dreams.
J'accuse! Hornacek, this is all your fault. I mean, this was the entire point of the Carter moment of the week. We were building up to there was this sauce. And you took that from us.
It's not. What are we supposed to do for the Carter moment of the week? Skip ahead to the end to find out. Don't do that. Listen to everything, please. Our words are valuable.
As long as you download it, it still counts as a hit.
That's true. And we don't really benefit from the hits anyway, so it's fine.
There we go. We were talking about the Abby implication of her running her mouth. So let's talk about that. So, why don't you talk about that?
So what really happens is it kind of gets everyone at their breaking point, I feel like. They've been dealing with Abby. Think of how terrible Abby was for all of them to be around when Abby was at the top.
Right.
Now with Artist gone, they know they're at the bottom. And they're just having a really hard time dealing with her.
Well, and what's funny is, usually you think that people gloating when they're in power is them at their worst. No, with Abby, it's when she has no power that she's at her worst. Because Abby at the bottom is driving them all insane. Just completely insane. And this is really where we start to see the Denise and Abby, real hatred, start to boil up. Because you can tell that Denise is just fuming at just everything Abby's doing. She is really annoyed by it, and she's really having trouble with it. And while she was definitely annoyed before, it's also the type of thing, where now she has the power to do something about it. Right. So it's starting to get to her.
And I feel like it was bad enough that even though we'll see in a later episode, they won't sort of take this route. I kind of get the feeling that if Abby didn't have an idol, even though Pete is largely the bigger threat, I think they would just get rid of her because I feel like they think they'd be able to get rid of Pete later anyway.
Yeah, especially with Carter and Malcolm still in the game. I feel like they would have thought they had 2 people to knock Pete out. And Skupin would, of course, include himself in that, too. Right. But let's talk about the other big thing that happens before Tribal Council, which is Penner blows the game.
Oh, Penner, what are you doing?
So let's talk this through, because is there a justifiable reason for Penner to basically be like, I don't want to make a decision yet?
No, I don't think so.
There isn't. No, it's a terrible move. It's a terrible move.
Even if he doesn't want to make a decision yet, Mike Skupin of all people says, oh, he's not sure, but you gotta just say yes.
Because you gotta say yes here. You have to say yes here. And the fact that you even try to delay only sends a signal, whether you intend it or not, that you think that you have another deal out there.
Yeah.
That's it.
Penner had a very tough path to the end and to win, but this is undoubtedly the moment that cost him the game.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I kind of feel like this was the moment where Penner had gotten past the hardest part of the game, and he relaxed. He knew that he had a target on his back for the past couple of votes, and, here's the thing. If he takes that deal, I honestly think he gets to the end.
Yeah. And if it's against those two, there's a decent chance he wins.
I think he beats Lisa and Skupin.
Yeah. It's a little hard to say because they weren't complete. I mean, they were basically below it, and like Denise and Malcolm are both such strong competitors.
Right. It might not be by
That
the same margin. It might not be by the
yeah,
same margin, but I do think that by, one of the things is I think Penner at this point has earned a lot of respect from people. I think they saw him as very instrumental in flipping Skupin and turning Lisa, even though she hadn't voted with them yet. They all knew that she was going to vote with them in the future. They saw him as being, I think, very instrumental in that, and I think that's true. I think he was, the key piece in that, and I think they had respected his ability to survive those first couple of votes.
right. There's definitely something to be said when you come in without the numbers, and then your numbers all turn on you, and you have to, like to have played immunity and to have to have won immunity.
Yep.
To like still be in the game, but then actually build an alliance from that.
Yeah. Right.
Nothing to sneeze at.
No, right. And that's the thing. Like people say that Penner's not a good player. And I don't think that's true. I think that Penner does do a lot of things well, but this is undeniably a huge mistake. And he just completely blows his chance. And I think he knows it in the future. Yeah,
I think he definitely realized it, at the very least, the next episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is crazy. I mean, and like it shows how important those conversations he had with Lisa was, though, because Skupin was like, "So do you trust Lisa? Do you trust Penner more? Do you trust Malcolm?" And Malcolm, who technically made a final 3 deal with her back at the merge, and she says Jonathan.
Yeah, because again, and that corresponds to what we had seen so far, which was. It was Penner that had been talking to her. It was Penner that, who had been calming her down when she had been attacked by her own alliance. I feel like he really was their first choice. But they needed that security. And the thing that he should have realized was Lisa's not going back on her word. Think about how much work it took to sway her to his side in the first place. And even how much work it took to sway Skupin to his side in the first place. It's something where you had to, if the option came up, you have to jump at that. You can't second guess it.
Yeah. So that, definitely sets up the next or the next episode for that sequence. But in the meantime, they've still got Pete and Abby to take care of.
Right. And, so once, Pete does not win immunity, it's, it's pretty obvious what they're going to do here.
Exactly. He does come up with, I think, a relatively decent plan. Sure. It's just, it has, there's just multiple issues with it. For one, the person he gets closest to switching is someone who's not assigned to vote for him, which is always this big problem with split votes that I think people don't pay enough attention to when they're searching it. It's the same thing with Spencer in Cambodia, but like him being the one to potentially flip is that he wasn't assigned to vote for Cass, so he couldn't switch or however.
Right, and good people in power know to assign people to the other, to not the. To other people if they're worried about them flipping, Like
if Tyson had been assigned to vote for Parvati,
he couldn't have flipped.
Heroes vs. Villains,
Yeah, Boston Rob messed that up.
Mm-hmm. Now, granted, that was a weird one because he's flipping to something within that same thing. And also, you're smiling like you think you're trolling Andy by saying Boston Rob messed that up, which is why I have to admit that I got that example from reading the old AV Club comments, and it was Andy who made it.
So I am using Andy to troll Andy. This is the most perfect moment in the history of the Blackjack and Hookers podcast.
I'm just happy I could be a part of it.
Oh, tears.
Yes, it's beautiful.
Yes. So let's talk a little bit about that tribal council, because I do think there are some pretty good moments there. So before we get to the main thrust of it, one of my one of my most enjoyable moments is Malcolm saying, when Probst asks him, like, well, isn't it strategic to get rid of you? And Malcolm saying, I refuse to say it is strategic to get rid of me.
Yeah, that was great.
That was great. I mean, like, that's also classic Malcolm. Well,
yes, exactly.
And actually, one thing I really do like right before we get to Tribal is when Pete's pitching everyone on their game. You have Carter going, I mean, I'm in a pretty good spot.
Yeah.
You have Penner saying, I do not trust them, but they do trust me, which is like the most, which is the most inaccurate assessment of a Penner game I've ever seen, because it's usually the complete opposite way around there.
But in this case, it seemed, I mean, at the very least, Lisa trusts him, and he clearly doesn't trust them, because then he probably would have said yes to the deal. So yeah, it is really, but yeah, it was funny, like, especially the card, just been like, I mean, like,
I'm in a pretty good spot. So. And that's it. And that just like cuts away from it. That was our card.
It's just like, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
But the main
Cupid just likes to hear ideas, so he's like, sure, maybe.
Yeah, he likes to entertain anything you're saying. But the main thrust of the Tribal was basically Denise burying Abby. Just
right.
She digs Abby her own grave, pushes her in, and just starts throwing sand on her. And then Probst is standing by and being like, hey, this is some good sand you're throwing on Abby here, Denise.
Well, yeah, and that is one thing is, people always talk about this Tribal, and like obviously everyone was sort of dancing around Abby being difficult, but talk about it for mostly Denise's like main speech, I guess you could say, her main like talking point about Abby. But it's really interesting to me like how much Probst kind of starts it all. He's just kind of like, so Abby, no one likes you, right? Like, yeah. But like also out of nowhere, like before she's even talking about like being misunderstood, he's like, do you think it's cultural? Like, do you think that's why?
Yeah, I mean, and we'll revisit the cultural thing, like a couple more times. But like, it is pretty funny because, Abby then of course latches onto whatever olive branch he offers. And I think
I'm just misunderstood. They're the problem. I'm too honest. That's the only reason people don't like me, is because how honest I am.
Yeah, it's not because of how honest you are, girl. Just laying that out there. I mean,
like you can be honest without being rude,
or just an asshole, which is what she is. I mean, and that's kind of what Denise says. Denise is like, no, it's not cultural. I work with many people from different cultures. They're very nice. Abby is not.
But it's a weird thing, because I think there are some instances where you can see that, English being her second language makes things more difficult. Like, but it's more of a communication thing. Like when Denise is talking about how they still don't, I think this is in the later, in the next episode, but she's talking about how they still don't really get along, and Probst is sort of like, oh, you mean there's like baggage? And Abby's like, I am baggage? Because right. Like, okay, like that's an idiom. That's a weird thing. Like that, totally excusable. That makes sense. What's weird though is like Probst is somehow saying like, oh yes, clearly all Brazilians must just berate their close friends and like people they're supposed to trust and stuff like that, because like that's the issue with Abby. So by saying it's like cultural, you're like weirdly implying a lot of things about her culture, which is kind of a weird.
Yeah. And the thing is, I think Probst kind of realized how like, I don't want to say ugly, because like, basically like how much of a beating Abby was taking there. And I think he tried to give her an out, and she tried to take the out. And then Denise was just like, no, I am not letting her get away with this. It's like she does not get to get out of this. And which is really funny when you consider it, because Denise, like Miss Peacemaker herself is just like, nope, I'm going to make her feel bad because she deserves to feel bad. And the thing is, she's right. She does.
Because Abby does. It's really, it's very difficult to try. Like, they're trying, it even feels like the show almost, for some reason, now wants us to feel bad for Abby.
Yeah.
Like a little bit, which is weird. But the thing is, and like, I will say this as someone who, can cry quite a bit. Crying doesn't necessarily mean like you have to feel bad for something. Like, people start crying for many reasons. It can also be a very manipulative thing. Like, if you're able to cry easily enough, you're like, well, if I'm crying, now you're going to feel bad about what you said.
I mean, come on. I cry all the time to manipulate people's emotions.
We do know you do cry a lot. You cry at TV more than I do.
I do cry at movies and TV a lot. That is
because I actually really don't that often, especially but that's a whole nother topic.
Yeah, we're getting way off topic here.
Also with Denise, though, as much as I love Denise, I also do think it's kind of weird that her thing is like, oh no, it can't be cultural because I know people from many other cultures, and I'm like, not every culture that's not yours is automatically like all the same, but because it's like, and I know that in the moment and in the tribal, it's probably hard to come up with like a truly cogent argument, but it did seem a little like odd. It's like
right. I mean, and another part of the cultural thing was that Probst was saying that Abby's inability to understand that they don't like her was cultural, which that's not cultural. That's just you being a narcissist and being unable to read the room.
Yeah, because it continues for the rest of these episodes. This lack of self-awareness, this insistence that other people are going to see her as a hero, like how she will play to the jury. Like, I don't think, and like Probst says something, I don't think her saying hi to Artis was like playing the jury, because Artis was her alliance mate. That okay, like
one of her only two friends out there,
right? He's and he was blindsided, so he's like, oh hi, and he's wearing Brazilian colors, I guess, but which who knows if that was intentional or not. I'm gonna say no, but yeah, like I don't think her saying hi to Ab was like anything to do with it. But what did stand out to me was when they left and she's still crying and she forgets the torch and she goes and she's like, bye to the jury members. I'm like, they don't give a shit. Like,
they really
looking
don't.
At RC? Like, maybe Artis cares, but like, who knows how actually close they even were anyway. He's not Pete, But like, do you really think Jeff Kent and RC give like a flying fuck about what you're crying about? Like, these are not people who liked you. For a fact, you should know that RC certainly isn't going to care. So like that weird, it's if I can like skip ahead really quick, it's sort of this thing like when Penner later gets voted out and she like wants to get a hug from him too. Like she's playing, I was like, what do you do? Like, that he doesn't, they don't like you at this point. The only person he went to was his ex.
Right, and that's the thing. Like, just because you voted with him once doesn't mean he likes you.
Yeah, like he had nothing else. He had no other option there.
Right. So should we skip ahead to
sure.
not to that moment, but to the next episode at least.
To that episode, yeah. I mean, I think we were talking about tribal anyway, so.
And it's funny because sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, actually, you're fine.
Okay, because kind of continuing this point, Abby comes back from tribal, and what she says to Denise is, "It wasn't cute what you said to me there," which like kind of unpack the sentiment behind that statement, where like what has to be said to people has to be cute, or like she thought that like Denise was doing this to like, I don't know, like score points or whatever, and Denise is like, "I wasn't trying to be cute. You're mean." And I was just saying that. And it's like, Abby can't process that.
Yeah, and somewhat like when Denise is going with it, like Abby just keeps interrupting her, over and over and say like, oh, I don't think that it's the same thing where, she just doesn't see why Lisa would think that Malcolm and Denise showed more grace than she did. Well, Abby's like literally yelling at her for not flipping, like, what is even going on there? And like when she goes back and Denise is, the whole time, even though it's maybe not like, the nicest stuff, it's like very calm. It's very calm. It's very measured. Like she's not using a lot of hyperbole. Like she's just saying like, it's difficult out there and like stuff like that. She even tries to like win the one thing where it's maybe reasonable, if if it weren't true, would have been reasonable for Abby to get upset when she's talking about like the people who get dragged as being these like, dragged along. And I was like, oh, I don't, it talks back about that. Like Denise even kind of walks it back. She's like, oh, I'm just saying, like in past seasons, like though it's a similar thing.
She tries to be measured. She tries to be like, graceful while still like, completely being truthful about Abby being Abby. But she gives up because you cannot deal with Abby like when she's just in this mood. She's too histrionic. She makes everything about herself. There's no self-awareness there. You can't talk reason to her. And Denise realizes that probably because she's seen a bit of it in her professional life.
In her line of work, yeah. And it seems like Abby like can't deal with people talking calmly to her. Like I feel like she would almost, she like needs people to be at her level where they can just fight. Like when she was, and like, I mean, it wasn't even quite as bad with RC, but where she could sort of, where RC would get flustered enough to be like, I don't know why you're mad at me, and they would like argue a little more, where there's nothing, she has nothing to like pounce on really with Denise. So she just decides Denise is awful and she's going to stick her tongue out at her. And like,
it's like that. Very childish. It's very childish. Yeah. But let's move on. So next episode begins, and after Abby airs her, grievances again, we go to, we have our Survivor auction. In one of the scenes when we still had an auction before it was completely broken.
Well, if I may briefly touch on more Abby-ness too, is you see like her go to her, she and Malcolm go get the mail, and like she first thinks it's letters, and like at the time they weren't even really talking about like that tribal or anything, but she's like, oh, it might be letters. Oh, I'm going to be crying again. Oh, it's so sad. And like Malcolm reminds you he's from the South. And like, oh, come here, darling. And like tries to cheer her up a little bit. And like, and it's funny because in that moment, it seems like, like Malcolm comes across like that. He's sympathetic to her. But then like not long after, he's calling her a dementor. So clearly it's just like, it's that thing where in the moment when there's a crying person in front of you, you're like, I'm sorry that you were crying. I'm going to say that. But like later he's like, oh, wait, no, she's an asshole.
Right. Because she is. She's an asshole.
Yeah. And he's also like, no, these are not the letters because they already got theirs, that one reward.
Right.
But,
what's funny is continuously through these episodes, Malcolm is predicting what happens next. He gets this. He's like, oh, it's the auction time. Next episode, he predicts right after this, okay, so in the auction, Abby, after whining that she's not going to buy any food because she's about to go home, she buys a reward. Good for Abby. Back in the game.
That is one legitimate smart thing that she did. Like that was absolutely the right call. 100%.
Yeah, and then, but what was funny was Malcolm predicts exactly what it is. He's like, it's either this or it's this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like it might be a clue or it's going to be an advantage to the immunity challenge.
Right. So, and I think that's why, because, right. So then, because part of this is that, once she has to reveal what the advantage is, she then starts lying and say that there's more to this advantage. That there was a clue to an idol, all that. Do you think that anyone ever believed her for a second? No, I don't either. And I think it's exactly because of what we saw Malcolm say.
Yeah, because in theory, it's not the worst plan. But Abby is not good at executing it.
Because Denise rightly observes, and later on, that if Abby they've already seen how Abby acts when she has the idol. If she had the idol, they would know about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so they go to the reward, or they go to the immunity challenge, and Abby, dramatically rips up the clue so they don't know that it doesn't say there's also an idol, and finds out that she skips ahead. The biggest problem really is that would be an insane advantage to have both in one thing.
Right. Because the thing is, this challenge advantage was enormous. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, everyone else had to run 2 legs, and then you also had the probability that you had some weight on you when you got there. Which, let me just add, I actually like this use of like the trivia game where it adds like a slight disadvantage to another type of challenge while you're doing it, but it's not
Yeah.
like the entire challenge is trivia. I think that's more.
Interesting how Denise did so poorly at the trivia.
Yeah, she really did.
Some girl did not read up on the Philippines before they left.
Yeah, right. But yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, so then, but I also love how when Abby's winning it, they're all basically like, oh, there's no way she can win it. Oh
Yeah.
God, she's gonna win it. And it's like, and they're all like, hell just froze over. What the hell
I
happened?
did like the one mention to the alleged, like, oh, what was it that she messed up in her knee or something? That she like tore her ACL or something.
Yeah.
Where Denise is like, oh, she can't win this because she can't climb. Thinking
Right.
like, it's like, yeah, she said all that. And then Scoopin's like, oh yeah, we'll see how bad her knee, or like, let's see how good her knee is. You
Right.
know, it's like, oh, now she could do it. You know.
Right. Exactly. It's it's but yeah. I mean, what's also funny is like Penner cheering on Carter when she's going through the course. That's also pretty funny because Penner's also doing it, but he knows that Carter's the only one with a chance.
Yeah, that Penner's just not doing. He's just too far behind on that point. He's like, yeah, Carter.
Yeah. Speaking of Penner being too far behind, let's get to what happens next, which is Penner is informed, you know, pretty much right after the challenge, that he's now on the bottom and that Lisa, his previous good friend, is going to vote for him. And
yeah, he does. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, he does not take it well.
No, he does not. He immediately, because like even before she tells him exactly what's happening, he knows something's up because he says, oh, cut the crap. What's up?
Yeah.
You know, she comes over, she's like, I'm just not built for this game. And he goes, cut the crap. Which I kind of love because like, you know, okay. You know, maybe it's probably not good play, but it's also like, it's pretty funny. It's like, oh, stop being like, so, you know, this.
And Lisa has like repeatedly been being like, I'm just not good at this game, as she like, you know, continues to make it farther and farther, you know.
Yeah. And make savvy moves along the way.
Right. And like not be bad, like do pretty well too.
Right. And the thing about it is the way she also comes to him, you know, normally if his name was coming up, he would probably think, okay, I can get Lisa. I can swing her and Scoopin. But the way she comes to him, he knows it's doomed. Like, because the way she comes to me, it's like, I cannot sway her. Which means he can only sway Scoopin, and Scoopin's not going to leave her.
Yeah. And, like, obviously he's not going to get, like, Malcolm and Denise on board.
Right. So clearly, like, he's drawing dead, and he knows it. And so he just gets...
It's fun how he puts his scrambling hat on, to, like, prepare.
That was great. Do what you do. He puts his hat on, and...
Well, let's go.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, and so, but you can tell by Tribal, he knows it's not happening, and he is just hilariously pissy. I mean, just so pissy. And
so
then, but what I love is, like, even during it, when he's making his pitch, Malcolm has to stick the knife in, and Penner's like, you know, it's like, and Penner's like, I would have, like, done this with you, and Malcolm's like, but you didn't, did you? Because you didn't trust her enough at that moment. And it's just like, yep, he's got you dead to rights, buddy.
Yeah, you know, I think maybe a little part of the reason why Penner is so bitter is that some of it, you know, is mad at himself. Because he's got to be thinking back to that moment where he's just like, oh, why did I say no? Like,
right, exactly. Because he knows that he really, you know, it's like, the moment he could have changed this was an episode ago. He's drawing dead now. But he still goes out in funny fashion. He goes up, he yells out Denise's name, and what I love about that is everyone cracks up, including Denise.
Yeah, even Denise.
Denise probably finds it funnier than anyone else.
Yeah, she laughs, and like when they're reading the votes, you know, she hits like a third vote. She sort of like looks up at him like, "Oh, you."
Right, exactly. And then when he goes out, he gives Carter a big hug. And then Abby stands up. He's like, you know what? I'm not going to hug anyone else. And he just walks off. And then what I love is he walks off and like, I don't know if he was saying something or if he's just standing around, but everyone's kind of like waiting for him and waiting and waiting. And even like Probst looks back and he's just kind of standing there. And everyone's like, what is he doing? But he's not doing anything.
Yeah, just waiting for his throat to get snuffed.
No, like afterwards, like when he walks off in the jungle.
Oh, yeah, because he just kind of...
Just is like hanging, doesn't want to leave the stage.
He did, yeah, well, so he walks off, he's like, this sucks, like, as he's getting his sword snuffed, and then he's like, oh, keep your sunny side up and suck eggs, and then it's like whistling the music that they play with your phone in hell, like, walking down, and then, like, peeks back in the jungle, gets about, then runs up, then peeks back and takes another, he does, like, an encore bow.
It's a good exit. It's a good exit. And then the
best, though, is Jeff Probst, who just gives a nice, that's our Penner. For the audio version, this was a shrug, not unlike the popular shrug emoji.
Indeed, very much like it. So
yes. So then that was Jeff Probst being like, that's Penner, shrug.
Yeah.
And what a fitting exit for a wonderful Survivor character.
Yep. Godspeed, good Penner. Godspeed. And then we move on to our third episode that we watched. And we pretty much start off. I mean, not right away, but pretty much right away. With the family reward.
Yeah, almost all of my notes for this episode are about the family reward. Because whenever it's the loved one's visit, it's usually like a big chunk of what happens.
And I think this one is especially so because we actually see a loved one have a lot of impact on the strategy.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about that. Everyone's loved one comes out, mothers, brothers, sons, and then we see Lisa's brother comes out yelling, Sister! Sister!
And you actually call your sister sis, and you still think this is weird.
Because I call my sister sis. Sister is like really weird. Like it's for some reason like using the entire full sister because there's something weirdly formal about it, but also like very performed.
Because it's so like dramatic, and then it's like there's this and he's like 20 years younger, and so you like don't even like look how beautiful he is, and I'm just like, what is happening? It's not. Yeah. It's not quite Kat and Kat's cousin. But...
No, it's not.
But it's
Kat.
Weird.
It's not Kat and the cousin she met in the airport, but it is. But it is quite weird. It's just but he actually has a pretty profound impact on her because because Malcolm and his doofy brother win the challenge.
Oh, Malcolm and Miles! I forgot how weird Miles is.
He's so weird. So weird.
Apparently, like a big part of it is that Miles had like just turned 21. So like the entire time when they were at Ponderosa, it was just, or wherever they keep the loved ones, was just wasted.
That doesn't surprise me.
Which is great because every other person there is, well, I guess there's Scoop and Son, but like almost everyone else is like old,
Right. Yeah.
And there's just this trashed 21-year-old.
Yeah.
If I may mention a couple more things about loved ones, though, I had one little note where Jeff Probst seems, and like I'm reluctant to talk about Scoopin and his son because it feels weird, but Jeff Probst seems like he's never heard of a father naming their son after him before. Like this is the only the only like junior he's ever come across. And like it's this completely like, oh, you love him so much, you named him Michael Scoopin. I've never heard of it. This is so weird. Like bruh, it's like a pretty like normal thing. Like people do this a lot, but there is kind of some weird stuff. Like already knowing that Scoopin has 7 kids, and he's like, "This is my favorite. He's the best person of the planet. This is my number one. That's my boy." Like,
yeah.
All right, fuck all y'all then.
Right. Wife, get out of here. Kids, get out of here. This is my right.
Yeah, but yeah, I just couldn't get over like how much, like, because it's multiple times. Probst highlights the fact that Mike Jr. is also named Michael Scoopin, and like this is not that weird. Like, I mean, it's kind of, if you really think about like the whole concept as a whole is maybe a little weird, but it's not unusual.
Right, it is not unusual.
But not unusual.
But there is, in my opinion, a funnier moment during the loved one's visit, which is where Carter starts to cry, and it's like he's like this doesn't usually happen. It's like, we know, Carter, you usually don't show emotion. We know. We've been watching the show. Yeah,
that's pretty great. Also, like how, I mean, Denise is small, so I don't know if her husband is like very tall or if he's normal sized.
I think he's normal sized. I think Denise is just that small.
Denise is just really tiny. And so like when she runs up, it's just like completely like glomped on. It's really funny. Also, when Malcolm wins and gets to pick, and I mean, maybe it's because Malcolm and his brother are also a sibling duo, but Justice is like, come on, like brother, sister, love it. Which, first of all, like, ew.
Oh man, like
as a brother sister pair, nah. But
yeah, that's a moment right out of Arrested Development, right there.
But it's also like, okay, technically there weren't any sibling pairs in Panama, but we all know and adhere to the Terry Dietz ranking of familial love.
It's very important to adhere to.
And you can't imagine that siblings is any higher than having your mom or dad come. And it's certainly not higher than, Scoopin and his child or Denise and her husband.
Agreed. But so Malcolm picks Lisa and Justice, and he picks Mike and Mike.
Yep.
And do you think those are the right choices?
I mean, his rationale made sense.
Right. And normally, I would say lock up the 2 weakest people in your alliance and leave the person that you're most sure can handle being deprived here without their loved one.
And Denise doesn't seem to take it to heart. At least we don't see anything about that. Like, obviously, I'm sure she would have loved to be taken.
Sure.
But there's no confessional about, like, I thought I was Malcolm's number 1. I can't believe he took them. Obviously, you're not going to take Abby and, like, whatever. Carter is also there. But yeah, so in theory, it makes sense. But I think really what his choice highlights is never win the loved one's visit.
Yeah, because here's the problem with the choice he made. I think he had the right idea, which is shore up the alliances he has with Lisa and Scoopin. The problem is that Lisa's loved one, starts giving her ideas. And I think Malcolm even kind of sees it happening. Mm-hmm. But basically Justice, completely, refocuses Lisa and is like, no, you came out here to play a game. Play a game. It's like, nah, don't get emotional. Who cares about your word? Play a game.
And that is the problem, because while you're thinking, like, you need to shore up the emotional bonds by picking them, this is, like, a thing that happens a lot. People, they see their loved one, they remember why they're really here, and it's not the person they've been hanging out with for 30 days or less in, most of this case. And so, you almost, like, want those people isolated so they think all they have is you, and that betraying you is, like, the worst thing they could ever do.
Right.
He also notes that while this isn't the hugest aspect of it, he does know while he's seeing the 4 of them off to the side, he's like, I didn't think about how they'd probably bond over Jesus.
Yeah, that was really funny because because like they're all laughing about it together. Like Denise laughs about it too. And then of course we hear them talking. And what they're talking about is like, well, it's like, what would Jesus look like if he played Survivor?
Yeah. And
it'd be like,
Jesus would look like Malcolm, but play like Carter.
Yeah. Which, oh man, Jesus.
I just love that even came up. Like, it's like, okay, like, prayer, it's like South Pacific wasn't that long ago, so we see people praying. It's not that shows how much I know about religion. I said praying, but like that's not too surprising. But then that they're like, what would Jesus be like on Survivor?
Right.
But then Lisa also, it's weird and something I personally like. The disconnect is a little kind of missing for me, but that she's talking about how she doesn't think, God would do anything, sort of what Denise said as a presumed non-believer earlier in the season, but that she doesn't think God really cares about who wins Survivor. You can't pray for your football team to win, right, and stuff like that. But then so I mean, again, this is probably me just not knowing enough about praying, because you pray for like their plan to happen, but it's also like, but if that's not what you want, that's fine.
Right. And I mean, like, and we'll kind of revisit this point in a second, but you're right, because their plan is, they realize, look, they got to blindside Malcolm because Malcolm could win. He'd beat them. And they're like,
absolutely.
That's a good point. He could win. Where did we hear someone say that recently? Oh, right. It was Penner last night. Yeah. Because Penner is telling him flat out, Denise or Malcolm will beat you. Denise or Malcolm will beat you. Guess
and
what?
So they decide, like, all right, well, this is the time to do it before we get too close to when he's going to be playing the idol.
Right.
He trusts. He has no reason not to trust in the 4 right now, because you'd think the biggest temptation was when Penner was around, and they passed that. So it really looks like Malcolm's in real danger.
Yeah.
And then Malcolm has no idea. Like, he does not, as much as he's like, oh, I didn't think they'd bond over, he doesn't seem to be worried about them turning on him. And that's time for the immunity check.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he has no idea. I actually think he has a bit of an inkling, because I think we see it in the immunity challenge. I think Malcolm goes a little harder there.
True, but he sort of doesn't express after he wins, like, even private, in confessional, he doesn't seem to be like, oof, phew, like, it's just sort of like, it's nice, I finally won, and like, this is really relaxing, and I wasn't even worried, but it's nice to be relaxed.
No, you're right. He probably wasn't like, oh, I'm going next, people are going to turn on me. He was probably like, it's like, this might be a chance for them, so let me just win now.
Especially because he does have sort of the realization that now that he's won, that he's in the Final 4.
Exactly, which is what I was going to say. If he wins this, he guarantees himself all the way to 4.
Mm-hmm. And Malcolm wins.
Yep.
Obviously, watching it now, we're not that excited, but I sure remember being excited 5 years ago. Thank God.
Right, because we all knew that meant Malcolm was in the Final 4. Malcolm was going far. And they come back and they're all pretty much like, yeah, we got to get rid of Carter. Carter's a huge challenge threat. He's basically been like first or second in most of these challenges. He's a huge challenge threat. And then pretty much immediately once they say that, Abby starts running her mouth again.
Yeah, they're like, well, she is the worst.
And Malcolm's like, it's like, I can't believe we're having this debate. Carter's a legit threat. And yet, I really want to take out Abby.
Yeah. Malcolm, who was, comforting her not that long ago and saying, he felt bad for her, is just like, she's so unpleasant. She's like a Dementor from Harry Potter. Yeah. She's so unpleasant to be around that I might make a terrible strategic decision because I want her gone that badly.
And then we actually have then what is my favorite edited moment of the week, which is when other people are talking about her, Carter. It's like they go to Carter and he's like, maybe it is because she's from another country. And then they immediately flash to Denise, and Denise is like, it is not a cultural thing. Not a cultural thing.
It's just Abby. Yeah, it's so great. Also, think some people might wonder that, okay, you can't vote out Malcolm. Usually in situations like that, you kind of go for the next best thing, right? You'd go for their ally, someone whose name has been floated out there just last tribal. Yeah. And, a lot of times in Survivor, once your name, once you've been voted for, like, you get brought up more and more. You become seen as a viable option. Yeah. So why do you think they didn't vote for Denise? Because Abby would have voted for her.
It's funny. I know you were digging through the old AV Club comments on this season, and you showed me one that I had posted where I asked, why didn't they vote for Denise? And our very own Andy answered me by saying it was a sign from God.
Yep. Well, they do say in the episode, he says, like, I didn't believe that he thought Malcolm winning immunity was a sign from God, so they backed off the plan entirely.
Yeah, and I believe it.
Yeah, because he and Lisa, Scoopin and Lisa do talk about, like, oh, well, it was an idea, but I guess it's not part of the plan. I guess
we're supposed to stick with these two.
Yeah, and, which kind of guarantees that they're going to lose. And, well, we know why God wouldn't want Scoopin to win.
Yeah. So they
vote out Carter.
They vote out Carter. God got his wish. Goodbye, Carter. You gave us many fine moments this season.
Carter, and you know what? I would like to say a quick piece about Carter, which is that sometimes, we as denizens of the internet, and especially like the Survivor internet community, sometimes it's hard to know what's just like our viewpoint and what's like, the world viewpoint. And a couple of friends of mine, weirdly not related because of this, a friend who likes Survivor is showing her roommate Philippines for the first time because that roommate has only seen Game Changers. So she's like, much like we did, like, you need to appreciate why Malcolm being voted off was such a big deal.
Right.
So they've been watching it, and I was over there. They're not caught up because none of my real life people know this is happening. And but they've been watching Survivor Philippines, coincidentally. And I was over there, and they were chatting. They only just saw Penner get voted, or I think it got to Jeff Cat, early merge. But she's saying, obviously, loves Malcolm and Denise, and she's like rooting for Denise a little more because she's a woman. And then how great Carter is because he's so bland. And I'm like, yes.
He's so amazingly bland. I mean,
that's exactly my exact opinion of Carter, is that he's so boring that he cycles back around to interesting. Yeah. And I love it. I genuinely love it.
It's like, how people say that white bread is a boring bread, but, it's still kind of good.
Mm-hmm. There's a comfort to it.
Yeah. So, and I feel like that's what Carter is. He's white bread. They mean that in multiple ways.
So many ways. Jinx. Well, and that's the end. So should we do our final
Carter moment of the week?
Our Carter moments of the week.
I mean, it's tough to say goodbye to the guy. It's tough when I was planning on this moment being something that didn't happen. So my final Carter moment of the week is that alternate universe where Carter does come back and say, there was this sauce. That's my Carter moment of the week.
There was.
I don't care that didn't happen. It did to me. It happened for me.
It was real to us.
Real. In my heart. In my heart, it was real.
Exactly. Carter will be eating all those sauces in the sky.
What was your Carter moment of the week?
Well, you talked about both of mine throughout the episode, even though I already told you what my Carter moments of the week were. So
Hey, I
thanks.
couldn't note that because my computer crashed.
But I loved Carter say. So I'm just gonna, you know what? It's the final one where I'm just gonna rehash all of the great Carter moments from these episodes. We've got Carter being like, I'm in a pretty good place right now. I'm in a good spot. We've got Carter being like, yeah, I'm super excited to get a pedicure. We've got Carter feeding Malcolm great. Being interrupted talking about salsas. Wasn't what we dreamed of it. Still pretty good. We've got Carter being like, this never happens. Having emotions. So that was also great. And Carter, and also just the fact that in a normal season, and a lot of this is with editing and stuff, but in many seasons, the idea of Carter being not the threat, but like the deserving one, the noble choice to take with you.
Right.
It's amazing because the alternate option is Abby. And so it's like, yeah, it's like, it's so noble to bring Carter, he who followed Jeff Kent and then later Penner, is like the noble, like strategic threat choice.
Yeah, it's
Carter.
Carter, we say goodbye to you.
Yes. So say we all. And hopefully, we will have next week the jury, so perhaps, or the final tribal, so perhaps we will be able to eke out just one more
Carter moment of
the week. Yeah.
So, should we say when we are recording next week?
Yes, so we will be back, not this coming Thursday, but next Thursday. So that is
the 20th.
July the 20th. Thank you. I was waiting for a calendar to load. That is July 20th. Same time. 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific, 9 Central, 8 Mountain. I don't know about any other time zones. Sorry, Hawaii and UK. But if you're there, you're probably not going to watch it live and you listen to the audio.
Probably.
So join us in the comments. We are at purplerockpodcast.com. That's where you'll find many of our stuff. I believe Kemper Boyd has finally made it through the end of Survivor New Zealand. So if you're still catching up on that, you can read her coverage. More importantly, because we are selfish, you can see our posts about this very show you're talking about now, Survivor Philippines. The show's Twitter is at Purple Rock Pod. I am at Purple Rock Emma.
I'm at Purple Rock Matt.
We have other people. You'll know how to find them.
Maybe.
Subscribe on iTunes. I guess YouTube.
Stitcher,
iTunes,
whatever the
Stitcher,
other down.
Google Play.
I guess.
Emoji.
I don't know how you get this podcast.
Yeah. If anyone else has a Discover card like me right now, you get bonus cash back through Amazon. So while you're shopping at Amazon, be sure to use Purple Rock Podcast /Amazon.
Hey, way to get in a little plug there.
I'm very smart.
Yes. And should we let Andy hit the theme music?
Sometimes the world looks perfect, nothing to rearrange. Sometimes you just get a feeling like you need some kind of change. No matter what the odds are this time, nothing's gonna stand in my way. This flame in my heart, like a long lost friend, gives every dark street a light at the end. Standing tall on the wings of my dream, rise and fall on the wings of my dream. Through the rain and thunder, the wind and haze, I'm bound for better days. It's my life, my dream, and nothing's gonna stop me now.